Okay, Carsten Drachmann, pleased to have you here. And
Thank you.
You represent Advanced Stabilities Technologies Group, and we're going to learn all about receiving flawless satellite communication on moving vehicles. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
Great.
I'll
Tell us more about it.
Explain everything you need to know about satellites in 20 minutes. God morgon. Jag pratar svenska också. Ni kan ställa frågor på svenska om ni vill, men för presentationen går det bättre för mig på engelska. As said, disclaimers, you see those already. I only have about 20 minutes to explain a lot of things. I'm very passionate about what I'm doing, and it's very exciting technology, but I'll try to do my best. I want to tell you a story about interesting trends. It's a story about satellite communication. It's a story about cool products and technology. It's a story about growing markets. It's also a story about technologies for autonomous cars and self-driving vehicles and applications. It's a story about 5G, data. Amazon and SpaceX are playing a role here. It's a story about environment and looking at our Earth from outside and down, looking at our Earth, which is quite exciting, I think. It's a good story about Swedish and Nordic engineering and a strong tradition. So in other words, it's about a world in motion. There's a lot of things changing, and some of the key things for us at Advanced Stabilized Technology Groups is that we bring stability to a world in motion. That describes our technology, and it also describes how we think. Okay, I'm going to start from the back. Why would you invest in ASTG short? And I'll take you through some of the reasons. Well, 4 key reasons. Overall, we are operating in growing markets. We're in business today. We have technology that we can leverage to capture new trends in the market. And we also have a possibility to grow the company via skills that are in the Nordic region. But let's back up a little bit and take a look at, so who are we? We bring stability to a world in motion. We have 2 business groups today. Satellite communication. This is satellite terminals for maritime use, so they're sitting on ships and they're communicating with satellites. AIMS, which is Advanced Inertial Measurement Systems, tröghetssensorer in Swedish. So it's movement sensors that I'll explain in a bit more detail. We're located in Stockholm, headquartered in Stockholm. We operate on global markets. Clearly, this is a global market. This is not just local market. We are addressing both commercial and government customers. And we've been listed on NGM, Nordic Growth Market, since 2014. So it's a quick summary of who we are. But let's take a look at our products. This is what I find. I'm also an engineer by education. Very cool product. This is our stabilized antenna platform that's sitting on a ship. So what does it do? Well, I think you understand there are satellites hanging out there up in space, and in order to create a communication with them, you have to have a parabolic antenna or similar technology to point at it. Many of you have maybe you have a satellite TV at home. Somebody has installed you a little antenna outside, a parabolic antenna. Sometimes you've done it yourself, swearing a little bit because it's really hard to find that satellite, but once you got it, you're good. You just leave it, don't touch it, and you have a great signal at home. It's pretty much the same thing here. It's just more about data connection. It's not about receiving a TV channel as such. The challenge is, though, when you're on a ship, you have to point exactly there, and the ship keeps moving. Then you have a problem because the parabolic antenna keeps moving. So what we're doing is we're building the stabilization platform that real time can compensate for waves and moving of ships. Our system is specified for military specification, which means there are quite tough requirements to how durable it is. And if you ever seen a patrol boat or a destroyer, when they have to go the other way, they turn really, really fast. And then you have to be able to keep the satellite communication. Very important. So that's the basics of what we do. We make sure that you can communicate with a satellite uplink, downlink, and it's a continuous connection no matter how much movement you see. Let's talk about AIMS, Inertial Measurement Systems. Okay, I have to go back to school a little bit to understand this, and it's also very exciting technology. If you look down at the right-hand side, see if I can point with this. I can. Yeah, here we go. Accelerometer. You probably have an idea of what it is. It's a thing that measures how fast you accelerate. Use case example is airbags. Every little airbag has a little accelerometer inside. It's measuring that if you brake or stop with high acceleration, it's deceleration in that case, it triggers the airbag. So that's an example. So we have those in 3 dimensions, so we can measure acceleration. We have a gyroscope. Where's my pointer? Oh, it's the other one. We have a gyroscope. Gyroscope is a thing that's spinning, and when you're trying to move it, if you've done in school, remember the physics projects with bicycle wheel steering, you were holding it and you had to stand on a platform and try and move, and you're actually moving with it. There's inertia in it. That's a gyroscope, and we can use that to measure change in direction. And if you put those two things together, you have what we call an IMU, Inertial Measurement Unit. They look something like this. It's not very big. Okay, have an idea of what it is. What are we using it for? Many applications. You can be on a boat, can be stabilization of a boat so it doesn't tilt over and the ballast doesn't shift in the wrong way. If you're on a boat and you have a lantern and you want to shine it on the water, but you want to really keep it focused, maybe for a rescue mission or what it is, and if the boat keeps going like that, you won't be able to focus your beam. So you can have an inertial measurement unit that's going to measure your movement, feed the information to a little computer or server technique that always keeps the lantern focused on where you want it. Other examples are the motorsports, Formula 1, or any kind of vehicle really driving. If we take Formula 1, Mika Hakkinen driving up the racetrack, goes into a corner. Mika Hakkinen always goes too fast into the corner. The computer, our IMU, is measuring how fast, how many Gs is he pulling, what's the direction, feeds the information to a computer and say, we better stiffen the dampers on the outside because otherwise Mika is going to roll over and start swearing and finish, and nobody wants to hear that. So that's what you can use it for. It's for safety in relation to transport also, different kind of trains. You can read up here on the right-hand side, agriculture, oil drilling heads, mining equipment, satellite communication, of course. We use it in our stabilization platform. So this is a really interesting technology that is advancing all the time, and it's being used in more and more applications, especially when it's about autonomous cars or applications, both for safety but also for precision. Okay, so going back to why it may be a good idea. I'm not your advisor. I'm just a CEO that's trying to explain what we're doing. But if you're considering, so one example is we are in growing markets. Satellite communication market is growing 13% over the next 10 years, compound average growth. Our AIMS business, inertial measurement unit, the segment that we are addressing, is also growing. It's growing about 6%. And for both of them, the annual market is from 500 million to 700 million US dollars per year. This is an addressable market, and of course, this is then where we fight for market share. We need to make sure that our products are right for the customers and bring the right functionality and quality. So one good reason is that we are in growing markets, and there's plenty to take from. Let's talk about where we are today. So for ASTG, 2019 has been a turning point. If you look up in the right-hand corner, we can see a little graph of the EBITDA. It's a yellow line, and revenue. Oh, you can barely see there's a little line there. This is our first 3 quarters of 2019. We are above 20 million now. As you can see, that's more than we've ever been for full years in the last 5 years. The reason is that the focus has really been on developing the stabilized technology platform for satellite communication. So that's all the energy has gone into that. We worked together with a customer from Israel, and we've finally, it's been a long long route. Finally, the product is ready. Our Israeli customer has ordered. We have an order of 60 million SEK, and we are in volume delivery right now with our customer. And why is that a good thing? Well, obviously, it's a good thing we have a product. It's a good thing we have a customer. Well, it's not just a customer, it's an Israeli customer. And since we are doing products for military, this is a really good reference point for us. If there's anybody in the world, warfaring nations that are always in distress, Israel certainly is one. And when they buy something, they only buy the best. Beyond that, if you talk about competition, one of our biggest competitors in this market is called Orbit. It's an Israeli company, so we also like to say we beat our major competitor in the home market, basically. Looking at the financial results over here, we actually start selling something, so our revenue has gone up a lot the first 3 quarters compared to last year. And 12 months trailing revenue is at 25 million SEK. And for the first time in the history of the company, we were EBITDA positive in the 3rd quarter this year. So obviously, finalized products, customers coming in, orders are being placed, the financial results also starts to improve. But the really important thing is that we now have a proof of product, it's working, we have a customer, and now we are, I've been working on a strategy so we can move forward from where we are now. So, ASTG is in business today. We have products, we have intellectual property, we have good synergies between our 2 business units, and financially we have reached a turning point here. Obviously, we need to keep selling to keep the numbers up, goes without saying, but nevertheless, we are in a much better position now that we've been for 5 years. Technologies for new trends. Let's talk a bit about trends. So what's happening in a market here? And I'll try to do it. This is not about technology per se, but it's about things that are happening. But before going into that, I need to give a 2-minute briefing on satellites as such. We have we have many types of satellites, but to make it easier to understand, we have 2 types. We have geostationary satellites up here on the right-hand corner up here. They are hovering about 36,000 kilometers out in space around equator. And from our point of view, they're always standing still to the south. Where's south? There, I think. So that way. So they're over there. So they're always standing still from our point of view, but they're not really. They're moving in space, but they're moving with the same speed of the Earth. So it looks like they're standing still. That's why once you've set up your satellite receiver at home, you don't have to touch it again. So you're okay. Those are the satellites that are a lot of today. The new satellite systems that are coming up are for low orbits. They're much closer to Earth. They are 700 to 1,500 kilometers. This is where the story about Amazon and SpaceX comes in as well. They're launching a lot of new satellites. Everything is sort of testing mode, but there is billions of dollars being invested. And the low orbit satellites it's going to be more like a swarm. They're not standing still in space. They keep moving. If you've seen Hollywood movies, president sitting in Pentagon watching his Navy SEALs doing something on the ground, and then sometimes, they lose connection. Well, it's because the satellite disappeared and a new one has to come back. So this is new technology that's going up in space. It's more cost efficient. It gives a very high data speed, and it's removing one of the key obstacles that there are with the geostationary systems, the latency. Latency is a little delay you have on your computer, the response time. You can also have it on landline, on fiber. How quick is the response time? It's not about the data speed. Examples where you see it is if you see a news transmission from Africa and the host in the studio asks a question and then there's a 5 seconds delay. It's because it's via satellite, because it takes time to go up and come down. Video quality is fine, it's just a delay before it arrives. With low orbit satellites, that delay is not there anymore. It's down at the same levels as you see on the ground. And that's why it's interesting. That was a very quick story about satellites, but it's important to understand the trends. So let's look at the trends. 4 key trends that are important to us. Movement information. This is about our inertial measurement units. So accurate real-time information about what's happening to me if I'm a mining machine, if I'm a Formula One car, if I'm a regular car, if I'm in a helicopter. What's happening right here, right now? So I can feed my information into a computer that can make a decision about what to do. So this is a big growing market, especially also for safety and precision, self-driving cars. You have a great company here in Sweden right now looking at electronic trucks, self-driving electronic trucks. What are they going to need? They're going to need to have some kind of information. Other trends are satellite imagery. What's that? It's actually low orbit satellites with high resolution cameras that are taking pictures of our Earth continuously. And over the years, as the quality of the cameras and the resolution has grown, you get an incredible amount of information. What can you use it for? You use it for movement of ice, weather, obviously, you can see that. Different kind of pollution, oil pollution, you can see movement of fish, you can watch forest fires. You can do all kind of analysis with that data. This is a big growing market also. We have technology to download the data simply via our stabilized platforms because it's something that's moving. We have to pick up a signal. But the market itself for downloading and dissemination and distribution of that data is a big growing market. Hundreds of applications. Insurance companies love this because they can actually save money by understanding what's going to happen in different situations. Another trend is we call it Satcom on the move, so the ability to move also on land, in a truck, in a car, anything that's moving and maintaining a satellite connection. Remember I said before, you have to actually point quite precisely to that satellite. We have the technology that goes with the boat, goes like this, we can handle that. When you get into a car doesn't move like this, unless you have a very big American car with very soft dampers. Cars move like this. So it's a different movement pattern, but again, we have the technology and software, so we can also build solutions for that. And this is a big growing trend also that you can connect via satellite here. Last trend is, I mentioned that already, low orbit satellites. Here we're talking about, you can call it Satcom's answer to 5G and Internet of Things. So low orbit satellites, LEO, can be complementary to 5G, both as it's called a backhaul connection of the 5G antennas, but also to cover areas where it's just too expensive to roll out 5G or fiber. What about Africa? You think 5G is going to hit Africa anytime soon? I don't think so. Maybe in some cities, but it's not going to go wide. What's the answer? The answer is connection via satellite. So this is very interesting for us, and a lot of money is going into this. So, number 3, why invest? We have technologies for a number of these new trends. I think intuitively we all understand autonomous cars, self-driving, safety, it's coming. Satellite communication is definitely a growing area. So that's where we are. What's the last part? Well, the last part is we have access to companies and a big talent base in Sweden and Nordic. I've been working in this industry for some time. We've been working in Sweden also for quite a while. And what I've seen is that there's a lot of entrepreneurs, great engineers, great ideas, great technology. But it's, as it so happens, for many of them, they're relatively small. They're developing a product or technology to a certain level, and then everybody runs into the same problem. I need to productize it. How do I do that? It's not quite the same. And I actually need to have a market plan. I need to have a sales plan. So I think there's a room to bring more of these companies together. And this is what I'm looking to do, either by joint ventures, by acquisitions, by partnerships. There are different ways of doing it. But my message is that I think many of the entrepreneurial companies, they want to be themselves. They want to be a part of a big company. And I think we can help host that. So I have plenty of talent to take from in order to capture our vision of the growing markets and the trends in the market. With that, I say, have a vision that by 2025, we have created a new, important, relevant Nordic company within satellite communication and technology for movement. And also, I hope we have contributed to what's very close to our hearts, what we really want to do to bring stability to a world in motion. Oh, you're supposed to see that. And then with that, I say thank you very much for listening. I hope you will take time to go to our website, astg.se. You will find I've done a video interview, so a bit more explanation about the company. There's a detailed investor presentation. We are starting a share emission today. So there's a good offer on our share. We're trying to raise 37 million SEK to start executing our strategy and taking the company further. So the prospectus is there. This presentation is also there in a much more extended version. So if you have an interest to read more and study a bit more about technologies for satellite and movement, it's available for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Karsten. Very, very interesting. I'm sorry about some slides for shake. It's the projector in the roof there that's in some need of stabilization. But the good news is it doesn't go on the videos. It's that little
it's only that one.
baby there. Let's talk numbers first. And, you know, first thing you do, this looks like an interesting company. You look, and when you look at ASTG, some numbers stick out. One is like a sevenfold increase in sales. You did 3.4 million January to September 2018, and that's up to 21.7 million the third quarter of 2019. So that's one. Secondly, you did a reverse share split. You packaged 100 old shares to one new. So that's another thing. You acquired. I'm going to lay it out to you, so that then now you can expand. You did a share issue in second quarter 2019 on 14 million. Plus, you did some bridge financing. And now you're doing a new share issue on 37.5 million. Now, what's a bit odd here is you have a huge sales increase. Still, you need all this new money from investors. So give us some
why don't I
guidance
explain
on,
that? Yes. Let me get you
what's
some
going on.
Absolutely. Okay. So let's start with the revenue increase first of all. Like I said, over quite many years, we've been working with our Israeli customer to finalize this product up to very high standards. So that's one thing. So the revenue we've had in the past years has been some service and maintenance of old customers. So it's been relatively limited sales. So, but now we received our big order. So the jump in revenue is no big surprise. We got the order that we have been working on for years, and then that changes the picture for revenue and EBITDA.
And this is one customer?
It's one customer that has placed this order, exactly. So as to why are we now doing a share emission again? We did one earlier in the year. Well, I started in June for this company with a very clear mission to create a strategy for the company. When I looked at it and see where we are, I repeat myself, we have strong technology, we have a very good customer, but there hasn't been a lot of focus on other customers. Everything has been put into this Israeli customer, and that's what we need to leverage now. So the money we are raising is to address strategies in all the areas I just highlighted. But first of all, more sales. We simply have to have more sales. But we have a strong product, we have a strong customer, so we're very confident going to the market. We're also investing more sales in our inertial measurement unit that has not either been had enough focus on sales and creating sales. We have the technology, it's all sitting there, we need to get it out. So my advice to the board and advice to shareholders is we have a clear strategy, there are clear trends, we have the technology, we have the skills, but we do need to invest to go further. Also to diversify the portfolio, like you say, one customer, one product, yes, everybody can do the math. It won't hold up over time. You have to get really lucky. So we need to diversify also our customer portfolio and our product portfolio.
And this Israel, they only buy the satellite communication. They don't buy the IMU?
No, correct. Okay. Correct. We have some existing customers that are buying IMUs today, and we are in a big tender with a big Swedish defense contractor that we're doing testing with right now. It has been shared also in previous reports.
And so the IMU, if you put that on a high-speed train, instead of saying I can go 240 kilometers in this left turn, it's real time. So you can say I can go to 1.8 G-force in this.
You could say, yeah, you could say that. I mean, you get real-time information about what's happening to your train or your car, and then with that information you can make decisions. I can give you another good example for the IMU, what it does. You're all familiar with GPS, Global Positioning System. Everybody has it in their cars, in their phones. The IMU is the same thing, really, because it gives information about relative movement. What did I do? Imagine if you're underground, mining equipment, for example, or drilling heads for drilling after oil, you do not have a GPS signal. The IMU comes into that. In the future, I foresee a little bit of a scare scenario. I'm not sure if you're aware how easy it is to disrupt a GPS signal. It's very easy. If there's a nation on Earth that wants to mess us up somewhere in the Western world, it's relatively easy to either disrupt the signal or move the reference point 500 meters down the road. What do you think is going to happen with a lot of our applications, self-driving cars, etc., if the GPS signal is not exactly where we thought it would be? With an IMU built into this, at least you will have the information that GPS says we're over here, and the IMU say, no, we're over here, and then a computer needs to make a decision to say, maybe I should stop what I'm doing because something could go wrong, or whatever it is. So there's a lot of applications for the IMU. Yeah.
Okay.
You asked about the shares?
Yes.
Splitting of share, reverse split. It's just a practicality. I think that we started. We started trading at 1 or 2 euro, and it didn't make much sense. So we simply wanted to convert it to a different level that was give us a little bit more variation. Yeah, it's simple. There's nothing to it.
So this new share offering you have now is that to scale and make more customers?
Yes,
or is it for R&D or?
It's both. It's both. We have some, like I said, we have some bridge loans from previous I want to get rid of. They are expensive, so we need to get that out of the way. We are going to develop more products. That's very important for us. We are looking at entering into some partnerships with bigger companies for developing products, so we need cash for that. But most importantly, we have to generate more sales, so we will invest more into our sales channels and marketing. Some of you have been following the company. You'll see we have a brand new website. We are focusing much more on branding, obviously towards investors. We like to show you that we are changing, but certainly also towards our customers. That's important.
Someone has a question for ASTG?
Instead of looking for Satcom.
I'm just a bit confused about the size of the market. You mentioned 5 billion plus 0.7 billion, and your turnover is 25 million. That's 0.5% of the 5.7 billion. So what is your realistic market that you can address?
So if we take the satellite communication first, the addressable market, $5 billion over 10 years, so about $500 million. So you're absolutely right, and it's actually not 0.5%, it's 0.05%. The whole point is we have worked for a long time now to get a product ready that can compete in this market and technology. So we have it now, which means now we can go to a market that is there, and it is growing. For the IMU, it's the same thing. The annual market for the segment we are addressing is about $700 million. And we are now focusing on capturing part of that. You know, it's one of those things. So we have 0.005% market share, and it's so big, so obviously it's clear we can grow. Well, it's never that easy, is it? But the good news is there is plenty to have. It's not like we're trying to compete in a market where there is no market for this. There is a market, we know that.
Okay. So that will be the famous last words for this time. But we wish you good luck, and we want to hear how it evolves in a period.
Yeah,
so
I give
good
that
luck,
back to you.
And thank you, ASTG Captain.